Hi, everyone, and welcome to Inquirer Live. I'm Mike Sielski, one of the Inquirer's two lead sports columnists. And we're going to be joined today by a very special guest, someone who I would venture is probably the most popular and respected pro athlete, or at least one of them, in Philadelphia over the last quarter century. And, of course, Pro Football Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins. We're going to be talking about Doc's career in the NFL with the Eagles and with the Denver Broncos. We're going to be talking about his book, which came out earlier this year, Blessed by the Best, My Journey to Canton and Beyond. And I think most importantly, we're going to be talking about the issue of mental health in elite sports and among elite athletes. It's a topic that Doc writes about in his book and that he has spoken about at length over the last few years. Just a few housekeeping items before I bring Brian on. We want you to participate in today's event, and you'll have a chance to do that pretty much any time throughout our discussion. If you'd like to submit a question or throw a topic out there for Doc and me to bat back and forth, please ask your question or make your comment in the comment section at the bottom of this page. If you're watching us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, something like that, just visit inquirer.com/Brian Dawkins Live to submit your question. Again, that is inquirer.com/Brian Dawkins Live. And with that, I have the honor of introducing Mr. Brian Dawkins. Hey, Doc, how are you?
I'm absolutely blessed, Mike. Thank you for having me.
It is great for you to be here. We very much appreciate it. I want to begin with something that you get into in the book and that you and I have talked about in the past, which is one of the things that I really loved about Blessed by the Best was it's in your voice. It's in the voice of you as a human being, as a husband, as a father, as a person. There's that Brian Dawkins, and then there was the Brian Dawkins who was a Hall of Fame football player, who was maybe the most ferocious safety in the NFL for the better part of a decade or more. How you've talked in the past about keeping those two people, so to speak, separate. How did you go about doing that while you were in your playing career?
Yeah, and that's the thing about it, Mike. First of all, I knew that I could. I knew that when I stepped on the football field, that I turned into to a completely different person, and that was okay. That's fine, right? Um, and to know you have that ability to do that. First of all, I've been a very emotional person in my life. Growing up, I was very emotional. I was the kid that would cry when we lose. I didn't want to shake the other team's hand like that. I was that type of young person. And so knowing though, as I got older, that I could separate those two, that I can take the field as I called him idiot man. But when I came off the field, I was Brian Dawkins. And I tell people all the time, Brian Dawkins never played a down in the NFL. He never played one snap. It was always idiot man who became Weapon X and Wolverine, right? But again, to know that I can do that, to know that it's okay. And then in that persona, I can do whatever I want to do, right? In that persona, when I was in that mindset, when I touched that field, there's nothing that I thought that I could not do. And so that's how I went out and did the things that I needed to do. But I learned a lot of those things from watching other people. One of them was Reggie White, right? Watching Reggie dominate on game day when I was a young Christian, trying to figure out, so how is this Christian thing? Well, how can I be that beast on the field and still, walk with him, be a man of integrity, right? So yes, saw Reggie do what he did, absolutely dominating on the field, but off the field, doing things differently. But even on the field, sometimes he would kneel down to pray for someone he hits hard, right? I did the exact same thing. So modeling somebody else for a little while until I developed my version of it is what I did.
Did that develop? Did you watch Reggie before you got to the NFL? I would imagine that you had to learn how to separate yourself just to get to the league, or did you learn it once you were already with the Eagles?
I was already doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't necessarily calling myself anything differently. I just knew that once I stepped on the field, I'm flipping that switch, as I call it. I'm flipping the switch. And when I flip that doggone switch, I'm no longer that kind, gentle individual that you came into the locker room with. When I step, even on the practice field, sometimes with my teammates, right? If it's go time, it's competition time, you about to get it. You better be ready, right? So learning how to practice in a way that wouldn't harm my teammates, but also once I touch the field, then I'm about to let everything that I have loose on this doggone field. That's how I was, again, when I was in high school, in college, and in the National Football League. But again, as I got older, you begin to understand the significance of being able to truly separate the two, to not let one leak into the other. And if the nice version of myself leaked onto the field, that wouldn't have been a good thing, right? And if that controlled chaos I was on the field displaying, if that leaked off the field, that wouldn't be a good thing either, right? So knowing how to separate the two was a good thing.
Yeah, you did things to men on the football field that you certainly could not do off the football field.
I probably would get that. They call that, I think, assault. Yeah,
I think so. At what point in your young life did the NFL go from being a dream to being a realistic goal?
So the NFL became a realistic goal for me when I saw someone in my family. First of all, college became something that I felt that I can do once I saw my brother get there. My brother Ralph Dawkins. He went on to play in the NFL for 4 years, but he was playing more in NFL Europe back in the day. So he never played. He was drafted picked up in the free agency by the Saints. So that was the individual that I saw from my household, from my neighborhood and my household, do it, right? So now it became something that, wow, maybe I can do it too, right? So that became my vision. So my vision was I wanted to be a professional something. I didn't know what it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a basketball player, but I wanted to be a professional something. And as I got better at football, that became the thing. And once again, I saw my brother do college and then him do the NFL. So once I saw him do college, I knew that I can do college. And I felt that if I got to college, I would be able to get into the NFL.
So at Clemson, your college, you're a terrific defensive back there. You're a second-round pick by the Eagles. What is your first thought when you get to the NFL? Do you get there and think, I belong here inherently, or do you get there and have doubts?
No, man, I was a bundle of just emotion. Like, I was excited to be there. I was mad the fact that I was drafted the first pick of the third round.
My bad.
You say the second round. It was the last pick in the third round. Last pick in the second round, the first pick in the third round, the way that I saw it. And I thought I should have been drafted before that. So there was that anger. I was angry about that, Jack. Boy, I was angry about that. But then, like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it because the whole recruiting process of different team after team, they kept asking me, can you play cornerback? Can you play Can you play safety? Can you play nickel? You might have to play special teams. So like everybody was giving me all of these other things that I might have to do in order to survive in the NFL because at that time I was probably like 5'11" and about 185, something like that. So I wasn't the biggest of guys. So everybody was like filling me up with this doubt. And I wasn't the confident person that you see in front of you or the confident person that went on to have all that success. I wasn't that person yet. So there was a lot of doubt in my mind. Can I do this thing? Like when I step on the field, on the practice field, I'm having to earn the respect of everybody on the field, obviously the veteran teammates, but also the organization. Now they drafted me in the second round, third round. So they're expecting a lot from me as well. So there's a lot of pressure I was putting on myself. Can I do this? Matter of fact, for the first couple of years, I still thought that I could get cut, right? Wow. So that it was no guarantee that I was going to make the team the way that I saw it. If I don't perform, if someone comes in and does better than me, then they can take my spot. It would be the Grim Reaper, as we called him, asking for my playbook, and I would have to go to the office to get released, right? So that was always in my mind from day one that I can get cut at any time. So that was my mindset.
So in your book, Blessed by the Best, this to me is the most compelling part of the entire story, is your early career in the NFL. Is it fair to say that the doubts that you had entering the league that you just described, this bundle of nerves and energy and excitement, led to some of the mental health issues that you experienced early in your career?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they were also things, that I was not talking about. So I was not talking about any of those things with anybody. So those are pressures and things building inside of me that I was not getting out. The only way I was getting some of it out is by practicing and hitting people. Like, that was a therapeutic for me to get out on the field to hit people, because I was not talking about those feelings. I was talking about the pressures that was mounting inside of me, the doubt that I had that I was trying to overcome, putting on a face that everything is okay when it's actually not. So that was one of the things that began to really deteriorate, right? So as more pressures begin to come along with having a new baby, he's colicky, new marriage, moving to a new place. So now you have more things that are piling into or being placed into that kettle, burning and boiling water, and that pressure is building and building and building and building. And then that's what happened. So when I finally took the advice of two people in my life that loved me, my beautiful wife Connie and Emmett, to go get help, I needed that. I needed that so bad.
You describe in the book, and the Emmett you're talking about is former Eagles defensive coordinator Emmett Thomas, and I know what a major influence and mentor he was to you. So I'm going to put a pin in that for right now. But describe how your issues manifested themselves. You describe, I think, in the book, drinking a little too much. How did, in your way, before you got the help, how did you try to deal with what you were going through?
Yeah, drinking. I was drinking things too often, and it was really to mask the pain. And that is never a long-term, short-term, or long-term solution for anything, to mask something. And that's what I was trying to do. And on top of that, that's when some of the thoughts began to come up in my mind on the continual basis of self-harm thoughts.
Yeah.
And so that
You
is
you
when,
you you contemplated suicide.
yes, that's the the, the less um harsh way to say it is self-harm, as I've been
Yeah,
taught over the years.
I
So
understand.
you said it. You said it, the suicide. So that is what was coming upon me. That's something that I began to think about on a regular basis, and too often. Like, I'm not saying that a thought, any thought of that is a good thing, but it was on a regular basis anytime that I really got quiet to myself. And that was not a good thing. So me trying to mask even those thoughts with the alcohol, that was not a good combination.
All right, you mentioned your wife Connie, and you mentioned, as we said, Emmett Thomas. How did each of those people help you through that period of your life?
Well, basically, they tag teamed on me. Um, one day coming into work, I went in, and basically I went into his Emmett's office, and then Connie was into the office as well. So she,
Wow.
some type of how got up to the office with me, and that was the time that I decided that it was time. I need to go talk to somebody about the issues that I was having, because having all of that anger, because I had anger issues as well. So I didn't mention that. So I had some
Mhm.
anger issues as well. So all of those things combined with the toxins of past hurts, traumas that I had not been talking about, that was a recipe for disaster at some point. And so I knew I needed to get help. The last incident of what I did, running my head through that wall, that was kind of the last
Mhm.
straw. And that was that morning after that. After that, they basically tag teamed on me and said, "No, we're gonna call, and you're gonna go get some help."
Describe Emmett Thomas as a person, as a mentor, and what he has meant to you in your life.
Wow, Emmett, I call him Uncle E. Like Uncle E, Emmett he was literally. It was such a blessing to go into that coaching staff, and I wrote this in the book, to have individuals that look like me coaching
Mm.
me, because that was in my neighborhood, right? So African American males speaking to me, and speaking to me like my uncle would speak to me,
Mm.
and with some of the same verbiage that one of my uncles, couple of my uncles would talk to me in, and I'm comfortable hearing that, right?
Right.
And so they were, but to hear Emmett speak to me and never allow me to settle for good. That's one of the things that I love
Mm.
about Emmett, and he taught me that lesson, to not settle for just good when great is available. And that's what he saw in me. He saw greatness. I did not see that. So I had to borrow his vision of me until I can develop a vision for myself of what I can be in the National Football League. So I began to believe in Emmett's vision of me, and I began to
Mm.
chase that vision. And he never let me settle. If I made a tackle and I could have made a interception, he's going to pull up the interception. He's going to make sure that I know that I messed up. I should have made an interception. So here
Mm.
I thought I did a great job of making a tackle. No, you should have made the interception. So that was the mindset that he wanted me to develop for myself, not always depend on him, but develop for myself.
That's really interesting because I think when people hear athletes speak about mental health issues, or any person in a high pressure position speak about mental health issues, they often feel like, I think maybe this is just me, but I almost feel like the solution naturally should be to relieve that pressure, right? To get yourself out of that situation, to not put so much weight on yourself. And it sounds like from what you're describing, what helped you through Emmett was Emmett coming to you and saying, you can be better. There's greatness within you if you allow it to, if you allow yourself to tap into it and to release it. Is that a fair way of looking at it? I mean, it would have been easy for you, I think, to say, well, maybe I don't want to play football. Maybe football's not for me. But it was entirely the other way. It was, no, I can be great at this. And if I listen to this coach and this man, I will be everything I want to be in the National Football League.
Yeah, and the last description of him that you just used was the key, the man,
Mm.
because I knew Emmett cared about me. I knew he wasn't just saying something to me because he was my coach. He was saying something to me because he saw something in me that was a way more than I can see in myself. And so again, sometimes you have to believe in that other person's vision of you until you can develop one for yourself. And then after I learned that, and this is what I try to tell people about Jim Johnson. When Jim Johnson came, he got that awake
Mm.
beast ready to go.
Right.
I'm extremely confident in any and all things that I can do because of what Emmett helped me bring out. Does this make sense?
It does.
And
It
so
does.
that is the thing. So having those people in your life, and this is what I tell people, having those people or recognizing these people in your life, recognizing these people that are not just yes people, that'll tell you yes and no, no, that will look you in your eye because they care about you and tell you, no, that was messed up. You
Mm.
shouldn't have done that, or you could have done that better. And you're open to that. It's not comfortable in the moment because in those moments, it wasn't comfortable hearing Emmett, chew me out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that being able to filter through the sometimes the tone of what he was
Yes.
saying and be
Oh,
able
the
to
content too, I'm
take
sure.
take the
Yeah.
message. Bruce Lee said it like this. Um, um, what he said. Filter the bad, absorb the good, and add what is uniquely you. So that's the
Mm.
way that I say it. But and see, that's what I had to do when it comes to that, being
Mm-hmm.
able to do that. Now, here's the other thing. I was used to some of the verbiage from growing up.
Right.
So I was used to taking the good, spitting out the bad, and moving forward.
Well, through the book and through I think really through your Hall of Fame induction speech back in 2018, you've kind of been at the forefront in the vanguard of a conversation that has continued and intensified ever since about the issue of mental health issues in sports. And it's an issue that has touched athletes nationally. I'm thinking of someone like Simone Biles, the U.S. Olympic gymnast. It's touched us locally with someone like Lane Johnson, the Eagles' right tackle. And most recently, I think the issue has come up with respect to Ben Simmons with the Sixers and the question of
Brandon Brooks. I mean,
Brandon Brooks. I mean, it's all
yeah,
over the
yeah,
place.
yeah.
What do you have spoken out, honestly and eloquently about this. What do you make of where we're at kind of as a sports culture in dealing with this issue and athletes being open about it and confronting it?
Yeah, and not saying this in a negative way at all. It's about time.
Mm.
It's about time. It's about time that we recognize that just because I'm an athlete does not mean that I don't deal with things. I don't deal with things in the house. I don't. Uh, it doesn't mean that I haven't dealt with things in my past that I didn't do a good job of filtering or getting rid of. That has toxic in my system at the moment, and me then acting out of that painful past, not being able to filter it, not being able to absorb it, not being able to do a good job of reframing it the way that I say it now, right? Seeing things differently where I stand today. And so having those conversations is extremely important. First of all, to know that I can have those conversations. Now, everybody's different, and that's the thing about it. This thing is just like our fingerprints. We all have them. They all will tell if we, get do a crime and and they pull the fingerprint. We all can get identified by our fingerprint. So we're all different when it comes to that. So we all deal with these situations differently. And when it comes to your mental health, this is something that has been swept under the rug this is for centuries, man. This is, and it's not just in athletics.
Right.
This is something that has been I'll just say it like this. We've seen so many stars lose their lives to suicide. And I believe a lot of it is because of their mental health. They did not know how to get rid of the things that was tormenting them, or talk about those things, or know that it's okay. And I say it like this: it's okay to not be okay. It is.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody should know that, right? I don't care if you're an athlete or not. It's okay to not to be okay. But here's the thing: it's not okay to stay not okay.
Right.
When there's help out there for you, and there's help out there, and different things you can do, not just help by speaking to people. There's things that I can do that I know that I can do now that I didn't know beforehand, that I can do, that I do every day now, that has allowed me to stay winning, as I call it.
So what are those things? That was actually a question I got before we started this interview, was when you feel those feelings coming on, when you know you're not right in your head and your heart where you need to be, what are those techniques that you use each day to kind of get yourself through it?
It really is. It varies though, because like we all, scientists will tell you have anywhere from 10,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you're going to have negative thoughts, right? You're going to have to, it's really, for me, it's those thoughts that constantly come back. If there's some stinking thinking, I call it that stinking thinking, and it's a specific thought that constantly comes back, that's a thought I need to unpack at some point. Now,
Gotcha.
If I'm in the middle of something and that thought comes, I'll watch it come. I'm not pushing it away. I'm not stuffing it anywhere. Excuse me. I'll look at it and I recognize it to be something that I can't unpack at this moment. So what I'll take a deep cleansing breath. And then I think of something that I'm thankful for. Somebody, usually it's my beautiful wife, and how much she means to me, and my beautiful kids. And so your brain can't occupy two thoughts at the same time, right? It's whichever one has the most emotion tied to it is the one your brain will focus on. So my brain has more focus on this positive reinforcement with my beautiful wife and how much I love her than I have on the stinking thought at that moment. And when it'll pass, it'll move on. So I've made room for it by looking at it real quick, not stuffing it away. And then I just replace it with gratitude. I replace it with gratitude, right? Now, that thought, though, I have to unpack it at some point. I can't continue to push it away. No, in my quiet time in the morning is when, if I have something like that, it's when I've scheduled time for myself in my meditation time, my journaling and meditation time, that I'll unpack that thought. Why am I having that thought? Like, what is the grounds of that? Where is this coming from?
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting. Did you were obviously, close with the Eagles. You were around them a lot during their Super Bowl team. So, Lane and Brandon Brooks. Did you talk to them at all about these issues and what they were going through? I don't want you to betray a confidence or anything like that, but
I would never do that. I'll never do that. I was blessed to have conversations with I'll just say a lot of individuals on the team during my time as an executive. A lot of individuals on the team.
Okay. We're getting questions from people who are watching the interview. Roy Perry 522 asks, "Yo, Brian," he must be a close friend of yours because you're on a first name basis with. He's on a first name basis with you. Very interested in your thoughts about Ben Simmons not playing and whether you think he's possibly exploiting everyone's heightened awareness of mental health issues.
That's not for me to tell somebody how they're filtering or going through whatever they're going through, because I don't know. I'm not in his house. I'm not in his head. So I don't know how he's seeing what it is he's going through at this moment, right? So that's an extremely tough question. Now,
Yeah.
everybody can speculate, everybody will have their opinion, but I'm in a space because I know where how my dark place felt for me. And so I would never ever say something like that to disparage a dark place that somebody could be in, if I'll say it like that.
Gotcha. And we have another question from a viewer. My son and young cousin are student athletes. What do you think we can do early on with our kids, especially our boys, to help them deal with the pressure and feelings they may not share with parents and coaches?
Wow. So one of the things that I do with my kids, my son in particular, is I ask him on a regular basis, how's your mentals?
Mm.
How's your mentals? Right. And from that question,
Hmm.
he can go wherever he wants to go
Right.
with it, right? But to let him know that I'm extremely interested in what's going on in your head. And if it's something that I can do to help you in regards of, sometimes it's just listening. If I can just listen to what's going on with you, then that's an empowering thing. If it's things that I can then help you with, I'm well open. If I don't know the answer, right now, we'll search for it together, right?
Hmm.
But that is the space that I've been blessed to create with all of my kids. Same thing with my daughters. How's your
Hmm.
mentals? How's your mentals? And so we'll have that conversation. If they want to get into it, we'll get into it. But again, that is a powerful space, especially for, and I hate to say it like this, but especially for a father and a son,
Yeah.
because that is not usually the case. That is the usually in pop culture, not pop culture, in culture. I'll just say culture. You teach them how to use tool or change oil or
Hmm.
how to suck it up. How
Right.
you hit your
How to
phone.
throw a spiral, how to
Yeah, how to throw a
set your
spiral.
body to tackle somebody the
Right,
right way. All of
right,
that.
right. So it's more, physical things and things, but not necessarily emotional things. Matter of fact, for a long time, the word feelings was not a comfortable thing to say, right? Feelings. What are
Yeah.
you feeling? Oh, every time I hear that, it makes me think of the Grinch,
Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss, but Jim Carrey.
Oh,
When he's
sure. Okay.
the Grinch
Yeah.
feelings, I'm
Yeah.
feeling. That's how feelings sometimes feel to men, I believe, right?
Hmm.
Talking about your feeling, but you have to talk about those feelings, especially when it comes to your son. Not everything, but specific things. For my children to hear some of the things that I've grown through in my life, and for my son in particular, for me to be able to sit down and talk to him about some of the things that he can handle at different junctures,
Hmm.
lets him break down the superhero, so to speak, of dad, right? Dad
Hmm.
is perfect. There's nothing going on with dad. He's never shows emotion. No, dad, reason, no, yeah, dad sometimes get emotional, right? And it's okay to cry. It's okay to shed a tear about something. I don't want to share a tear about everything all the time.
Right.
No, but there's a time and place for everything. So to begin to open some of that up
Hmm.
and to be able to share in that regard. And once again, for me, a easy way to dive into it is, how is your mentors?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I have two sons myself who are 10 and 7, and one of the things I say to them a lot, not that I'm some kind of perfect great dad, but one of the things I say to them a lot is whenever they start crying about something is there are things that are you're going to cry about in life and it's good and you want to do that. And then there are other things where you're going to have to kind of work through it, and it's one of those lines that it's hard for a father to walk. It can be, but you have to be open to it, as you're saying. You have to
Yeah,
be, you can't just say, you know you can't just call your kid a wimp anymore. It's
well,
not the right thing
no,
to
no,
do.
not. But again, it's not okay. My son, when he was playing football, right? So playing football, you fall, you hurt your knee. the question, and I would ask him, okay, is it bleeding?
Right.
Can you walk? Get up.
Hmm.
Get up.
Yeah.
I know it's hurting. I know it's hurting, but you can get up from that.
Right.
I'm not saying you just shut up and yeah, you can shed a tear if you want, but get up.
Get up.
If you can get up, get up. It'll be painful. The first
Hmm.
couple of steps are probably going to be painful, but you'll be fine. But that's different. Now, when you start talking about internal things, that's different.
Right.
That's different.
Yeah. Do you think this, you mentioned how the idea of feelings and that word was kind of been verboten, certainly in like a masculine culture like the NFL. Do you think that coaches and franchises nowadays are gaining a better understanding of how to relate to athletes on that level? I mean, is it enough? It seems like nowadays it's not enough for a coach to just say, go hit the blocking sled. And, if you can't do it the right way, we're going to cut you. It does seem like, maybe incrementally, maybe a little bit at a time, people in the sport are kind of figuring out how to relate to athletes on a deeper level. Am I wrong about that from what you've
So
seen?
I can only speak to the coaches that I've had, right? Emmett being one of those individuals, Leslie Frazier back in the day, who's our coordinator right now
Hmm.
for Buffalo, Sean McDermott. Like I can only speak to those guys. Those are individuals that weren't just coaching you. They were
Mm.
also listening if things were going on off the field, especially Emmett, right? Especially Emmett and Leslie, I would say.
Hmm.
So when they're coaching you, when you're around people all the time, let me say it like this: when you're around someone all the time, you begin to recognize when everything is not okay. You can see it. If
Hmm.
they're one way a whole bunch of time and all of a sudden it's different, they're acting out, or some of the signs of that they're tearing up, they get that's a time for that coach to then pull them to the side and ask, is there something going on? Is there something that I can do? If not,
Hmm.
can I direct you in an area to get you the help? Right. So that's when you have to have that caring enough about that person to look past the player. And I always say it like this: and if you coach the person first, you'll get a better player. If you look after that person first and what the person that has going on at the house, if they have some issues going on at the house, and it's not for coaches if you don't have the expertise to help them. No, I'm not saying you do it, but there are individuals that are usually being hired, excuse me, more and more by organizations that you
Hmm.
can go have a conversations with, and it would just be you and that person. Nobody else has to know nothing about that. And that's the other thing about this. My feelings or what was going on with me my rookie year was not for everybody.
Right.
That was between me and the therapist. Nobody else had to know, and nobody else
Hmm.
did know until
Hmm.
I decided it was okay. When it was when the Lord asked me or put it on my heart to begin to speak about it more and
Hmm.
more as I got up there in age a little bit. I felt more comfortable about sharing the things that I went through and how I grew through the different things, and that's also in the book.
It is. And again, the book is called Blessed by the Best. It's a terrific read. As I mentioned earlier, you will read this book if you haven't already, and it will sound like Doc is talking to you. And for 300 pages, that ain't a bad thing. So, what I want to do now is kind of play a little bit of word association with you, and hopefully, this will take us into some interesting topics. I'm going to throw a name or word out. You give me your reaction and insight on this. Troy Vincent.
Big brother.
Yeah.
That's my big brother forever. He's still my big brother to this day. I looked up to him greatly as far as me developing the leader that I became. I watched him, his technique, his the way that he handles the media. Like I watched so much about that dude, of how he did things. So that's big. That's my big brother.
Jeremiah Trotter.
Trot for me he was my lifting partner, right?
Mm.
Like he was the cat that I worked out with in the weight room, pushing weight. So the energy and the drive, the ferociousness of hits, that was it was a competition between me and
Wow.
him. Yeah, it was a
I never
tremendous.
heard that before. That's, I
Yeah,
mean, that's
it was a
interesting.
tremendous competition of for me and him, who's gonna get the snot bubble hits, right? Like, who's gonna be the dudes, who's gonna not like, that was the he
Mhm.
was that dude for me that I was and I used to love during the week when everybody else is and I hate that's why to this day I hate the word maintaining. Like there's no maintaining. Either you're gaining or losing. That's the way that I
Right.
see it. So we're still kind of maxing, on bench press during during the year. We're still
Hmm.
pushing heavyweight, up into November, right? While everybody else is doing a little lightweight. No, we pushing weight, Jack. And that was my lifting partner. That was my lifting partner.
Ray Rhodes.
Wow. Ray Rose took me back home to Jacksonville, Florida, with his coaching staff, being able to come to the NFL once again, playing under an African American male, someone who looks
Mhm.
like me, talks, and Ray. Oh my goodness, Ray was
He could cuss a blue streak
Ray. Listen,
and then some.
Ray did not have a filter when it came to how he felt about something that you should have been doing or could have done differently. He didn't have he
Oh.
lets you know, but it was from a place of love when it came
Mhm.
to Ray. But once again, the coaching staff that he had, and not just the coaching staff at that time, and this is also in the book, to have so many individuals in the organization, right? Um, to be minorities, African American men,
Right.
like that was such a powerful statement for me coming from Jacksonville, going to
Right.
Clemson, basically at all, a majority white school, and then you come
Mhm.
into Philadelphia, and now
Right.
when I walk into meeting rooms, boom, look at how many head coach,
Yeah.
defensive coordinator, Mr. Wooten, who was I think
John
he was
Wooten. Yes.
John Wooten, over player personnel at the time, Dick Daniels, another
Mhm.
player personnel,
Yeah.
and all of these individuals. So I'm like, wow, wow. Look
Imagine
at
how.
look
I
at
mean,
what's
imagine.
possible.
Yeah, imagine how challenging those first couple of years would have been had they not been there for you. I mean, it's really you described so well what you went through. I would imagine it would have been that much worse had they not been there.
And it is no guarantee that I would have opened up to those individuals. That's
Right.
just being honest. That's just being honest.
Andy Reid.
Wow. Big Red. Andy changed the culture.
Yeah.
He came in and changed the culture. He had a plan. Not a lot of media didn't like the plan that he was on for a good while, but Andy came in with that plan that he had and changed the culture, bringing in him, obviously bringing in Jim Johnson, and just think about that coaching staff.
Yeah.
John Harbaugh was a special teams coach, right? So he
Ron
had
Rivera,
Ron
Brad
Rivera,
Childress,
right,
Leslie
and Leslie
Frazier. I mean, it's
Frazier,
amazing.
right. So you have all these individuals that he brought in so that he does not have to micromanage everything. And that was another thing that I would give him credit for, understanding the power of empowering those who you have empowered to do their jobs, right? So that is another thing when it came to Andy.
I will say this though, one of my favorite scenes in your book, because of the inside look it gives, is you describing yourself on the sideline during the 2003 NFC Championship game at Veterans Stadium against Tampa Bay, where you're imploring Andy to call more running plays. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. I can't imagine there's an Eagles fan anywhere who won't read that section of the book and go, Doc was right. Why didn't they run the ball more? Can you when you that was going to be my next question, I guess, kind of was Tampa Bay and the vet that day. What stands out most in your mind about that loss?
Wow. Other than that it was extremely painful. Wow. That was my thought. That was literally my thought. Like, you continue to run that pill.
Yeah,
We got you. We're gonna
yeah.
keep this points down just like we've done all year long. We got you. That's literally what I was saying. Run
Mhm.
it. We got you. We got you. Like we're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna do our job. We're gonna keep the points down. And for whatever reason, in that instance, we did not. And then we let some plays go, and
Yeah.
they came back to win that game.
Donovan McNabb.
Wow. Should be regarded as the best quarterback in Philadelphia Eagles history without question,
Mm,
but he's not.
mm.
And that's a sad thing.
Why do you think that is?
Just because of all the controversies, and this is in the book. In some of the sometimes the militant way that he answered questions because of some of the I believe that he had that chip on his shoulder from the booing from the beginning of it all.
Mhm.
And fans were never truly able to see like Donovan. I don't believe like truly see Donovan. They caught glimpses of him playing around, messing around, but they really didn't truly get a chance to truly see who Donovan was.
Just from being around the team a little bit when he was a rookie, I've always kind of got the sense that you guys, particularly on the defense, guys like you and Troy and Trot and Hugh Douglas, when he got there, there was kind of like all right, now we got, we're getting closer to getting what we need now. We've always had the talent and the personnel on defense. Now we finally got the quarterback. Is that an accurate way to kind of represent that?
Absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
why I say, without question, the best quarterback in Philadelphia Eagles history. Just
Mhm.
look at it. Look at what he was able to do, what we were able to do, once we got him and
Right.
begin to move
Right.
forward. And you have to think about it. Like he didn't have the 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 receivers that
Right.
any of the other quarterbacks have had since then. He didn't
Mhm.
have that core. Like Deuce for many years, as you remember, was our leading receiver,
Yes.
our leading rusher. Like Deuce was everything, right?
Right. And if he wasn't throwing a deuce, it was Chad Lewis,
And it was Chad Lewis. Yeah,
you
Chad was
know.
doing this thing across the middle. Absolutely. So he didn't have all of those things, but yet we were having success with the formula that was being taught to us. Strong defense, the way we were playing defense, stingy on defense. So the offense, you guys do what you need to do. Just don't
Mhm.
turn the ball over, and we got you. And so, but Donovan, when he got there, we began to win it at that clip. And we kept going to NFC championship game after NFC championship game after NFC championship game. And a lot of that, I won't say all of it, obviously, defense, we did our thing as well, special teams,
Mhm.
but a lot of that was Donovan's ability to get out of some of the things that some of the, I won't say the talent around him, because I would be messing with my other guys. I would just say it like he didn't have some of the things that some of the players that some of the other quarterbacks have
Yes.
had, and so he had to get up out of a lot of things because of that.
Gotcha. All right, we got a couple more because we got about 5 minutes left. Terrell Owens.
Yeah. Wow. Did whatever he needed to do to get out of that contract. That's what he did.
Oh
He
gosh.
did whatever he needed to do to get out of that contract, and that's exactly what he did.
I still remember sitting in a dorm in Lehigh, watching him on TV do the sit-ups in the driveway and watching him go on ESPN. And oh my gosh, the word circus is the only one that
Yeah. And that's
describes
what,
it.
and we were sitting there in the same, sitting around after practice, watching him do this, looking at this dude do sit-ups and push-ups in the driveway. So you guys to be kidding me.
All
But
right.
go
Yeah.
ahead.
I was just going to say a couple more because we're short of time.
Yep.
Carson Wentz.
Wow. Didn't see that coming.
Mm.
The way that everything turned around and crashed and burned at the end, I did not see that coming. Did not see that coming.
The Canton, Ohio, the day you got into the Hall of Fame.
Such an emotional, exciting opportunity for me to share with millions and millions of people just how far I had come and how I was blessed to do the things that I did to be a Hall of Famer, yes. But also, I was so thankful for all the fans that came up to support and to enjoy that time with me. But on that stage, to be able to talk about all of the people
Mhm.
that blessed me to get to that point. I love that. Such a blessing.
And you spoke at length about a lot of the things you write about in the book. Did that just come out in that moment, or did you go into that speech saying, "I'm going to talk about this stuff because I have a platform now to be able to do it?
Well, it literally came from me feeling and me sensing that people, when they see me, they see this individual that wins, right? Whatever he does, he wins, or that whatever comes his way, he fights and battles through it, which I do for to a certain extent. But you've always had success, probably even since little league in high school and college. Like, you have no idea. That is far from the case. And so the Lord put it on my heart to really be more transparent about some of the things that I've grown through in my life. And then going to that next step was, okay, write a book.
Hmm.
Write a book about the things that were once detrimental to you because you weren't talking, because you weren't sharing, and how you have reframed those things, those people, and you've recognized those people that has blessed you in some of the darker times in your life with a word, with a
Hmm.
phrase, with a thought, to be able to empower you to have a different way of looking at that situation. That's what that book is about. It's about the way that I then see things now, and I've seen things now in my life going forward much differently than I did in those times when I was allowing all that toxicity to build up in me because I was not getting things out, or I was
Mhm.
constantly remembering the past as a bad thing. No,
Right.
no, the past is something that is empowering me with strength and vitality and different things for today, for me to go out and have an outstanding tomorrow.
Doc, I just want to say thank you. This has been absolutely terrific. Appreciate your time very much. I hope everybody who tuned in got as much out of this as we hoped. And I just want to wish you and your family happy holiday season. Once again, his book, Blessed by the Best, My Journey to Canton and Beyond, the great Brian Dawkins. Doc, thanks so much, man.
Thank you for having me. God bless. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everybody.